Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And welcome to Sofa Reviews. Today we're watching Catwoman.
Released in 2004 and going on to win 4 Razzie Awards, this is the perfect example of how not to do a comic book movie.
So we open with credits showing us that cats have been around for a while, which has no bearing on the plot at all.
And because Spider-Man opened with self-narration, we have it here too.
It all started on the day that I died.
We then see Halle Berry playing Patience Phillips, a woman so timid she can't look where she's going.
And we're also introduced to her fat stereotype friend, Sally.
Yeah, we have our ways,
A woman who you won't recognise from her best-known role.
Anyway, we're introduced to her boss, the Merovingian, who's explaining the new beauty product in a meeting.
But his wife, Sharon Stone, decides to upstage him because she's bitter about being so old.
Later, we see Patience being told off by the Merovingian.
I mean, look at this red. It's all wrong. I wanted it darker.
And being a professional, he soon starts insulting her rather than just her work.
Oh, and do try and get a manicure, will you?
Why would you care if she's had a manicure? She's Halle Berry.
So after that, which turns out to be a plot point, we see that she can't get to sleep.
I think they were trying to emulate the crap life of Selina Kyle in Batman Returns. So why create a whole new character for this?
Somehow, quietly talking at a loud party across the street doesn't get them to turn the volume down. Funny that.
The next morning we see her painting when a cat disturbs her.
And so she follows it out onto the ledge.
Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you call animal services or something?
Quiet, Matt. This is clearly the reasonable and sane approach. I'm sure stress and sleep deprivation have nothing to do with it.
Regardless, this turns into a flimsy excuse to introduce the love interest.
As he's an idiot, he instantly assumes that she's suicidal. However, once she explains she's on the ledge to find her teleporting cat, he's fine.
This cat?
Sure, Patience. And it's a real beauty.
He smashes into her apartment and saves her from her own stupidity.
Luckily, it turns out that nervous, clumsy, possibly insane women are his type. And as she's dropped her wallet, he's able to romantically meet up with her.
We cut back to Sharon Stone, who admittedly doesn't really look that old here.
After all, no one can defeat Father Time. Though you did put up a hell of a fight, didn't you?
I always start my day by telling my wife how old she looks.
So the cop shows up to meet Patience at work.
Detective Long. Tom.
Which gives us more time with stereotypical fat girl, now with added bonus, stereotypical gay guy.
Hello?
Joy.
So it turns out the good-looking guy that clearly has a thing for her knows a lot about her interests as well.
That reminds me of early Chagall.
Do you know what we need right now? Some tedious foreshadowing.
First, it's only coffee. And second, I will never, ever, ever wear that leather outfit.
So Patience arrives at work at midnight to bring the correct piece of work in.
And this is how having the wrong shade of red on a picture develops the story.
Patience uncovers the diabolical plan to release the face cream that has terrible side effects.
Oh, come on, it's not exactly Joker toxin.
That luscious tan, those ruby lips and hair color, so natural, only your Undertaker knows for sure.
Because she accidentally discovered this secret, and because it's a beauty company, they instantly try to kill her.
What are you doing? Don't ever do that again.
Clearly, you're not allowed to touch another man's gun without his permission.
After a painfully edited chase scene, she ends up drowned in shit.
And if you've watched this film, that's an experience you'll be familiar with.
After somehow winding up in the middle of an island, her dead body is revived by a bad CGI cat, using the burp of life.
And that cat was clearly radioactive, as she now has cat powers.
She wakes up the next day, dazed and confused, and realising she's missed her date with the cop.
Feeling bad about this, she decides to go after him and she decides she's got to return the cat to its owner. That's clearly the most pressing issue in her life.
This introduces us to a crazy cat lady who has a strange interest in Patience.
Perhaps I can help you.
Right. You know, this really isn't your problem. I don't even know why I'm here. So
Patience goes to leave though, so the old lady gives her a ball covered in cocaine, catnip, before she heads off.
She gets back to work only to be moaned at by her boss.
Of course, now that she's been burped on by a cat, she's able to tell her boss what she thinks of him.
I'm sorry for every second I wasted working for an untalented, unethical egomaniac like you.
This gets her fired, so things are looking up already.
It's really nice that everyone she works with is so happy that she's been fired.
Later she explains to Sally that it's like she has a split personality.
I don't know, it's like I can't describe it. It's like I was saying it, but I wasn't
insane.
And one of the personalities is more confident and evil, so maybe we should give it another name. Perhaps Venom.
This last point of stupidity is enough to make Sally finally decide she's had enough of this film.
Sadly, the fall doesn't kill her, or even make her less annoying.
I gotta meet my howdy doctor.
Luckily, it's easy to track down any cop in the city and just wander into a school with no job and no children, just so you can find this guy to apologise to.
And of course, he accepts her apology, and so they play basketball together.
Do you remember how awesome the playground fight scene was in Daredevil? Me neither.
After some terrible editing, she manages to beat him and mount him, which is the perfect thing to do when surrounded by school kids.
We next get to see the movie's closest attempt to subtlety, as Patience on the phone wanders around her home absent-mindedly walking on furniture. You know, like a cat!
Once that's done, it's night time and she's having trouble with her loud neighbours again.
She lives next to a nightclub and she's complaining about the noise? It's not like she has work the next day.
And the cat says, kill them all.
She kicks the door down and trashes the place, deciding to go along with her newfound vigilante status by having a makeover.
And because she can't sleep, she decides to wear leather and steal a motorbike. As you do.
She then goes to rob a jewellery store and continue being subtle!
You boys thought you could come in here and steal all these beautiful things? What a perfect idea.
So we get another action scene just as clumsily edited as the ones before.
Although it's worse in the fight scenes as you lose all sense of flow.
And if you thought the idea of watching Halle Berry beating up a load of men was sexy, then I'm happy to tell you that her stunt double was a man. So you may as well just kill yourself.
After leaving as much evidence as possible, she jump cuts her way back home.
Of course, Tom is the policeman sent to investigate the jewellery store, and it seems that Patience is back in control from Venom as she's returned all the jewellery.
Cupcakes.
We're then treated to a scene of Patience looking up cats on the internet, trying to find answers, though I'm not sure what the question is.
If only she knew someone. Perhaps an older lady with an extensive knowledge of cats.
I knew you'd come back when you were ready.
She gets a lot of statements about cats, but she never really gets any insight into her condition.
Past is a rarity. A goddess of the moon and of the sun. She represents the duality in all women.
The two-faced bitch.
But what does all of this have to do with me?
To prove that she's not just a crazy old cat lady and that she can help Patience, she tries to kill her.
You just pushed me off a balcony. I'm now going to believe everything you tell me, you perfectly sane spinster.
You are a Catwoman.
Although bizarrely, she actually does say what is easily the best thing to come out of this movie.
By accepting who you are, all of who you are, you can be free.
Now that she's spoken to an old lady, she remembers that she died earlier and decides to track down her killers.
She's changed costume to a bra and torn trousers, which is seemingly the least attractive costume in the movie.
After running around aimlessly on rooftops for a while in poor CGI, she manages to find one guy who shot at her.
She follows him to a nightclub that clearly has no dress code and orders a drink.
White Russian. No ice. Hold the vodka. Hold the Kahlua.
Having found the guy, she starts dancing and suddenly has a whip. As the outfit leaves little to the imagination, the location of the whip leaves a lot to the imagination.
She kicks the guy through a fire exit, even though there was a sofa behind him previously, and they have a fight in the alleyway.
Some stuff happens and I can't really tell, but she wins.
Cat got your tongue?
Cat puns. I think they're trying to tell us something.
The guy says he doesn't know anything, then remembers how poorly developed the plot is, and so explains everything to her.
Bioline. There's something wrong with Bioline.
After killing the cameraman, she then goes to the lab where she was killed.
While there, she finds a dead guy, which is the scientist who objected to the dangerous face cream.
Before she can do any more tedious cat-based antics, she's spotted and the alarms go off.
Luckily, the filmmakers know that instead of seeing her escape from danger, we'd rather see her chatting with Sally.
Hey, hey, hey.
Wow.
Patience discovers that Catwoman is suspected of murdering the scientist.
Back with Tom, and he notices that the sorry note on the cup from Patience matches the sorry note on the returned jewellery.
So he decides to speak to someone about the handwriting rather than using all the evidence left behind at the scene.
Were they written by the same person?
Well, it's not an exact science.
If only they had something more accurate, perhaps a way of identifying proteins unique to each person, or identifying imprints left behind by fingers.
Being useless at his job, he decides to go and take Patience on a date to a fairground.
The Ferris wheel breaks, she saves a child. Next scene.
The editing's so bad, not even the people in the movie know what's going on.
It's over.
Well, I'm not sure how you did it.
Later, she breaks into the Merovingian's house and pushes Sharon Stone down the stairs.
She's fine though, and she decides to work with Catwoman, confronting the Merovingian at a show.
I'm almost impressed he's not watching Cats at this point.
She sneaks into the place and is immediately spotted.
Call the cops.
Like a pro.
After scratching the Merovingian, she gets chased off by the police into the rafters.
And of course it's Tom who shows up to arrest her.
Here we get more dodgy editing and bad puns.
Careful. That cable hits us, we're both fried.
I knew I felt a spark between us.
And then she casually escapes again.
We then see Sharon Stone talking to the Merovingian, telling him what she thinks of him.
Be a man.
Yeah, be a man. Slap your wife.
Patience and Tom have another date, and they use this to throw in a sex scene.
I wonder if they used the stunt double for this as well.
Afterwards he finds a nail on the floor and lipstick on a glass, so she must be Catwoman.
No time for that now though, because Sharon Stone phones Catwoman to arrange a meeting.
We see Tom back at the police station where we find that the scratch on the glass matches the scratch that he doesn't have on his face.
It turns out that Sharon Stone has been the villain all along and frames Catwoman for her husband's murder.
But she escapes with ease and goes back to her apartment, only to find Tom there to arrest her.
Apparently all the evidence points to Catwoman being the murderer, but don't worry, she's come up with a bulletproof defence.
You can believe me.
Now, in the real world, this wouldn't hold up with the police, what with the lack of evidence and so on. But because it's a film, guilty until proven innocent.
In her cell, the cat shows up to tell her to go killing again.
She somehow squeezes through the bars and escapes. Tom goes to confront Sharon Stone, believing that Patience is innocent and that she's guilty.
He tells Sharon this and then seems surprised when she shoots him, but luckily it's with one of those bullets that doesn't cause much pain.
Don't be stupid.
Catwoman shows up and takes him to safety so she can have a final battle.
During the battle, it's revealed that Sharon Stone has some form of superpower.
Skin like living marble.
Somehow, it turns out that Sharon Stone has the advantage, until Catwoman decides to negate gravity via groin thrust.
Catwoman watches as Sharon Stone falls to her death, and Tom decides as a policeman he's just going to let her escape.
Because manslaughter doesn't exist.
And so to end, she tells Tom that because he's been such a nice guy and really supported her through this difficult time in her life that she thinks she might love, nah, she dumps him. In conclusion, this film is absolutely awful. The first 9 minutes flit about between a load of things. She's dead, she's nervous, she's got a fat friend, she hates her job, there's this terrible beauty thing, her boss is an arsehole, there's a loud party, I don't really care anymore. The editing is awful, it's all over the place, you can't tell what's going on, even though you've no real reason to care what's going on. You've got this tragic life of Patience. Oh God, how terrible. I've got a big house. I've got a good job. I've got lots of nice friends. I've got this perfect man who really cares about me. Oh, it's horrifying. A lot of times throughout the film, it almost feels like you're watching a Spider-Man film instead. You've got the crazy old lady who somehow knows everything just because she has to be there to try and make the film move along. They have a lot of CGI in the film, but it's all absolutely terrible. You'd have been better off just using sock puppets. They decide to use the CGI in really awkward, bizarre places when she's just walking along, and loads of camera angles are just shot at a tilt on her face, which is just really tedious and annoying. Can you think of anything good about this film?
Had that one line.
By accepting who you are, all of who you are, you can be free.
Sometimes I think this